Alright, I think it's about time we have a conversation about the state of the Pokemon market. Right now, we're kind of seeing this acceleration where things are shooting up in price left and right, and it seems like everything is just accelerating upwards. It's not just moving upwards, it's moving upwards at a faster rate. Like throughout the summer, like the early months of the summer, May, June, July, we saw things move up, specifically cards from like the black and white era, some of the old like Team Rocket style cards, Mewtwo cards in general, things like that. But now we're seeing just everything move up. Tag teams, even regular tag teams. I think the Gengar and Mimikyu, like the regular one, or I don't, just not the ultra rare one, not the alt art one. I'm talking about one of the lower tier rarity ones. In a PSA 10, it's worth like $1,000. $1,000 for that card that actually isn't that rare. Pokemon Center promos. Obviously, we've talked about this a couple of times already, but they're shooting up left and right. The Charmander's over $3,000. The Magneton is probably going to hit $500 in the next month. Even things that are like not very well loved. Things like the Pecharunt, the Teal Mask Ogerpon, the Noctowl. All of these cards are moving up in value even though they don't have super well of Pokemon in them. And while these cards are moving up a decent bit in price, they still pale in comparison to the moves that we've seen Mega Evolution cards like the Mega Rayquaza and Gold Star cards like the Rayquaza Gold Star and just every other Gold Star across the board make. Almost every day we're seeing a Gold Star sale above $10,000, which is insane. A year ago this would be absolutely unheard of. It would mean that it was like a PSA 10 Gold Star, but now we get PSA 7s, PSA 8s selling for $10,000. The market is absolutely accelerating right now and boiling over. Pretty much every single product that you buy right now is going to be more expensive in a month, which is insane. It's across the Pokemon hobby. Everything is moving upwards. And most people did not think that the bull market was going to last this long. I even had my doubts that it would last till late 2025. My original prediction was that in early to mid 2026 we'd see this leveling off or a big retracement, but I don't even know if that's going to happen. And it's more organic than COVID because it's not Logan Paul based. It's not everyone's at home because of COVID and they're getting their nostalgia kick. It's everyone wants these new cards, these new modern era cards, and then they also want more vintage cards as well, the Mega Evolution cards, Level X cards. You see Level X PSA 10 sales well into the thousands pretty much all the time now. Things are going insane and I think it will only continue through the rest of 2025. We have outstanding sets coming up, Phantasmal Flames. Everything about Phantasmal Flames looks great from the leaks. It's a small set, which may hurt it a little bit. We haven't actually seen what the alt arts or special illustration is going to look like, but I anticipate they'll be pretty cool based off the leaks that we've seen. The ETB looks awesome. That's the main thing that I'm really pumped for. But beyond Phantasmal Flames, we have Mega Dream EX, which is going to be the Japanese version. I don't know what it's going to be in English yet, but that's the Japanese name. It's likely going to have the Mega Gardevoir and Mega Lucario cards that we saw leaked or presented by the Pokemon Company on YouTube. I don't know, it was a week ago, month ago, I can't remember at this point. Everything moves so fast now that like, if something happened a week or 2 weeks ago, it feels like it happened a month ago, just because of how quick everything is moving. But regardless, those cards look pretty cool. It looks like they're doing a more cartoony style for this, which I think is cool. Honestly, I like that it's different. I like that it's a little new, and I think we're getting a more realistic Mega Charizard for Phantasmal Flames. So getting a more cartoonish style one with the Japanese font, I like that contrast. But beyond that, the Pokemon Company Japan, they trademarked another set name. They did this a while ago. It's not breaking news or anything, but it's Emerald Storm, which obviously Emerald is Rayquaza, so Mega Rayquaza is likely going to come in early 2026, and that's pretty much everyone's favorite Mega Pokemon. Some people say Mega Lucario, Mega Gengar, Mega Charizard, but Mega Rayquaza I think pretty much unanimously is loved. So Emerald Storm is probably going to be as insane or even more than Phantasmal Flames, and I hope that means that we get Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon in that set. But obviously there's no way to know. That's going to be like 6 months into the future. But what I'm getting at is that the Pokemon market is accelerating right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop even through the beginning of 2026. Now, I want to talk about sealed products, specifically focusing on the Scarlet and Violet era real quick. So Alpha Investments, Rudy from Alpha Investments, he has distribution, obviously. Many of you guys know him, but if you don't, he has the biggest online Patreon. He sells tons of Pokemon product. His allocation of booster boxes for sets is in the thousands. So he's one of the bigger whales in the Pokemon space, essentially. And he has a YouTube channel, and he was talking about Pokemon and Magic and whatever, and he mentioned this.
We're getting small reprints on a normal basis between distribution, and all the reprints are marked up 2 to 3 times the amount. And most of the reprints, again, you know, an ETB store cost used to be $30 for the last 8 years for me. You know, these reprints and restocks, I'm paying $60 for an ETB.
So did you catch that? He said that when he's getting product from distribution, like ETBs now, that are being reprinted, so not before a set is released, not Mega Evolution, not Phantasmal Flames, I'm talking sets like Surging Sparks, Twilight Masquerade that have already been released, and they're sending reprints through distribution to these stores. He's paying $60 per ETB from distribution. And this is essentially building a new baseline, a new floor for these Pokemon products. So by distribution selling to these stores at $60 per ETB, that means that these stores are not going to sell it below $60 per ETB. They're not even going to sell it at $70 an ETB. They're probably going to try $80, $90, $100 for whatever ETBs they're getting restocks of. This means that in the future, these Scarlet and Violet era sets are not going to come down to MSRP. Now, can you find them at MSRP at Target, at Best Buy? Sure, yes, obviously that's possible. But what I mean is on the secondary market or market price for these products, they're not coming down to MSRP. And I think a lot of people already knew this, but this kind of confirms it at this point. The Scarlet and Violet era is basically prepped for takeoff because we are going into a new Pokemon block, a new Pokemon era, and they're going to have to focus on these Mega Evolution sets and all of the demand that's around Mega Evolution. Because these Pokemon products for Mega Evolution are going to sell incredibly well. The Charizard SPC, the Mega Evolution ETBs, the Phantasmal Flames ETBs, these things are all going to have so much demand and they're going to be incredibly expensive out the gate, and they're going to have to reprint them similar to Prismatic Evolutions if they want to keep prices low. And with the Pokemon Company's focus being on Mega Evolution, this means that all the Scarlet and Violet era stuff is pretty much done. Now obviously there's going to be reprints for stuff, especially in the later half of the Scarlet and Violet era, so things like Prismatic Evolutions, Journey Together, Destined Rivals, all this stuff, we're probably going to see some more reprints of it, that way it's more available for people all the way through the time that it's in rotation. But things like Paradox Rift, Paldea Evolved, Scarlet and Violet Base, Obsidian Flames, all of these, they're pretty much done. Like you might find a pack or two in like a random Pokeball tin or in a random collection box, but booster boxes, ETBs, and those types of products, they're pretty much done for. And this brings me to why I think investing in those Surging Sparks Costco bundles is such a good play right now. And that's because they're being reprinted through Costco where the cost basis is below MSRP. So I think you can buy the bundle of the ETB and the booster bundle. I think on their website it was like $55. Obviously getting that, you have to get lucky with the queue or whatever, but even buying it on the secondary market, I've been able to find them for $90 to $100 really easily. And when you add things up there, the ETB basically costs $60, and then the booster bundle costs like $35, and that gets you to that $95 bundle. But that cost of a $60 ETB is exactly what these stores are paying through distribution. So basically buying these Costco bundles on the secondary market, you're getting the same deal that people with distribution are getting. And that's why to me, it's an absolute no-brainer, because Surging Sparks is a pretty solid set. Has some decent top chase cards. My personal favorite is the Latias EX, close second being that Melodic. Both are fantastic cards, great pieces of artwork, and I don't think we're going to see reprints of Surging Sparks that heavily in the future. I think this was kind of their last hurrah of Surging Sparks. And I think a lot of people are paying attention to other things and paying attention to what's the most expensive. Like you'll see a lot of YouTubers cover like Paldean Fate's Bubble Mew, it's shooting up in price. The 151 Charizard, it shot up in price. And then everyone will go flock and buy those things or like focus only on those cards. Buy the things that you think will be hyped up in 3 months, in 6 months. And that's how you'll be able to get the best deals and buy products for a fairly affordable price. But so many people don't do this and they just buy the cards that are hot right now. Like they see vendors selling ponchos and they're like, oh, I need to spend $10,000 on this poncho card. Or the Bubble Mew goes up to like, what, $2,000 in a 10? And they're like, oh, I need it. I missed out when it was like $600 in a 10, but now that it's $2,000, I need to buy it. Just ignore that stuff. That's all just noise. But that's a tangent. Let's get back to my main point. The Pokemon market is incredibly hot right now, And distribution is helping to contribute to a floor on Scarlet and Violet products, and that means that they are a lower risk investment than the Mega Evolution block. Now, getting Mega Evolution products for MSRP, obviously that's going to be a great deal because it's going to be like, what, half off of market price? But the Scarlet and Violet era right now, I think, is primed to explode. Even booster boxes for sets that don't have that much value inside, like Stellar Crown, I think they're still going to continue upwards in price. And the last indicator of why I think the market is so strong for these Scarlet and Violet products is we've seen large-scale reprints of things like Prismatic Evolutions and Surging Sparks, and it hasn't crashed the market for them. So let's take a look quickly at Prismatic Evolutions. So the Prismatic Evolutions ETB, this obviously is the main product for Prismatic that everyone wants. When it came out on release, it was like, I don't know, 130, 140. Then it's been continually reprinted, like more than any other ETB in history. We've seen regular restocks through like Costco and Sam's Club, over 100,000 units worth. So tons of these are coming to market, and still it refuses to go below $100 per ETB. Like, you can hardly tell that in the past 2 weeks, it's been restocked at Costco's and Sam's Clubs. And that's because the market value pretty much hasn't changed because there's hundreds selling every single day. This tells us that the market is incredibly strong. And imagine what happens when they stop making these ETBs. What happens when Prismatic Evolutions are like, all right, we made enough of these ETBs, we'll reprint Prismatic through things like collection boxes and booster bundles to keep price per pack low, but we'll let things like the ETBs get rare. What happens? Well, I think we end up with a situation like 151, where the 151 ETB is what? It's like $400 at this point. Prismatic Evolutions can 100% get up to there. I'm not saying in the next year, but maybe in 2 or 3 years, I could see it absolutely happening. Like, look at the Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB. This thing got several reprints where we saw it immediately tank in price after the reprint and then slowly climb back up. Right now, it's actually reaching all-time highs. It's just about $400 per Pokemon Center ETB. And we saw it get reprinted, I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, to a pretty large scale, where we saw a decent amount of them get stocked in the Pokemon Center. And yet, they still just surge upwards. Now, moving on to something like Surging Sparks, we just saw the Costco reprint of these. They're pretty much everywhere. But the most interesting thing to note is that it tanked down to $70 per ETB, but immediately bounced back up to $77. Now, if we look at the bundle of them, it tanked down to like 100 and it bounced immediately back up to, what's it, 108, 110 right now? For 150,000 of these units to go worldwide, obviously you'd expect them to tank in price, but that they bounce right back up immediately afterwards, they make a 10% bounce up from their low. If the market was weak, we'd see it depress the price, we'd see the reprint tank the price of this product, and then we just see it kind of flatline. But no, immediately, a week after the reprints happen, it bounces back up. And now let's look at some of the singles in this set. You'd think with so much more Surging Sparks product just around that they'd tank in value, but they haven't. Pretty much all of them are holding their prices or just fluctuating within a couple of percent. None of these top chase cards are falling off a cliff in price. And then let's also look at the booster box. The booster box, I think it's up, it was like $240 a month or a couple months ago. Right now it's at like $260. So obviously this reprint decreased the price of ETBs because there's so many more ETBs on the market, but everything else Surging Sparks is still just holding its prices or increasing in value. That tells me that the market is strong in general and strong in Surging Sparks as well, that people still have demand for these cards even though more are coming to market. And that also tells me that these ETB and booster bundle combos are likely to bounce up higher in price. The ETBs are likely to recover some value in the coming months pretty easily. This market is crazy, and I also want to stress that this is not normal. I know for a lot of people that are new here or have come in the past year, this may seem normal because that's all you've known, but like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the market was very dead. It was very flat. Like most of these sets would go up maybe 10, 20% in a year. Now, Evolving Skies is a very different story, but products could be found for MSRP very easily, and there wasn't scalping because you couldn't scalp. But eventually, this market cycle that we're currently in will end, and we'll end up with a lot of these cards or sealed products retracing a bit in price. I think the cards will retrace significantly more than the sealed products, because that's what we've seen over time, is that sealed products, even through bear markets, can kind of weather the storm. They hold a little bit more value, versus single cards, they kind of fall off a little bit. But if that scared you and you're thinking, oh man, I gotta sell all my stuff before this happens, I personally don't think that's going to happen within the next 6 months at this point, because the set lists that we have coming up are incredibly strong, and it seems that right now we have the strongest Pokemon market ever. And I don't want to say that we haven't seen anything yet, but I think the prices that 151 products are going to reach in the next year are going to be astronomical. I think a lot of people are going to be really, really surprised at the value gains and the percentage gains that these products and cards get. Like, it's happening right now. We're seeing 151 stop getting reprints, and we're seeing all of the products move up in price, and we're seeing all the cards move up in price, and I think these things could get really, really expensive. I think the Charizard EX is just about a $300 card at this point. The Zapdos EX, which was flatlined at $50 for the longest time, is basically a $100 card right now. Booster bundles have broken $90. ETBs are at like $400. Ultra premium collections are like $550, $600. So get ready for the next couple months, because I personally don't think we've seen anything yet.